She's up with the Sova. 1 for 1 with a K expiring. Mind Freak waiting till he gets back up towards full HP. Jing now dead. Bang! Flucked up into the open. And now it's all on Mind Freak, and he cannot make it happen.
Today we're going to talk about Paper Rex. Because after their loss to 100 Thieves, and of course many thought that Master Shanghai was perhaps their best chance to win an international event. Of course they didn't win an international event. And many people, like, were talking about stuff like this. Many fans, I think, were going through the stages of grief and talking about the things that, Paper Rex did wrong and, what they need to do for the future. But there was a lot of this kind of stuff going on. So today we're going to dissect Paper Rex's performance in that Icebox game, which was not so great, but talk about Paper Rex in general and whether they can actually ever win an international event playing the style that they do. So the first big thing we have to talk about is their Icebox performance, where there were a lot of situations where Paper Rex were in an advantageous situation and threw it away. I mean, multiple, as we'll get into in these clips. This first one we're going to take a look at here, round number 9. You're going to see that Paper Rex are up against a bunch of pistols with their full rifles and an op, and they managed to lose.
Here's Bang. This position's so tricky to deal with.
They've been reading it decently well, but Bang still comes away with that headshot at long last. Can't make his exit though. Jing able to shut that down. Orb taken, Forsaken wanting to just continue this cycle, have these no commands available as often as humanly possible. The Mosh, once again, to try to interrupt, and the Dizzy gets a shot off. 100 Thieves already in position for a retake if Paper Rex could even get this plant down.
It's going to be a little bit tricky to get that space.
Bomb grenade out.
Still have the wall from Jing, but you got to get there. And you know that as soon as that wall comes up, 100 Thieves might be trying to barrel in. We'll buy a little bit of time. Plant is going to come down. Right around the corner is Boostio, though.
Damage taken, and Forsaken trying to escape, but Asuna back at Snowman, able to find the shot. Now the Thrash going to be coming into play. Clear out on the turret, trying to clear out on this fish. Chases him into the back, and now it's going to be recoverable. Vulnerable out on the 2, but no one to play off the back of that one is Jing marked. Swings in, Jing somehow coming away with one, but the defuse is just being stuck on 2. Shockdart finding one. Last player standing just above his head. Devi giving him a haircut. The repeat, the classic as EU.
Okay, so not a great start there. Now, we're not going to break down the clips individually too much. We're just going to show a bunch of examples, basically, of Paper Rex doing that sort of things, losing situations that they should win, like this one in round number 12, where they lose a 5v3 with a lockdown.
No ambiguity whatsoever to what Paper Rex are attempting. Fragment to clear one side. Horizontal wall set up here. Devi goes for the plant. The lockdown about to be in play. If he can stay alive, something finds the first kill. Asuna going to be taken down, Forsaken. Backpedaling. Cleans up Cryo. The lockdown now to shove them back, but Bang pushes forward. Devi still wary about a flanker. The swing out. Bang still standing his footing. But they have to respect this. They have to pull away. Precious time. Bought. Devi finding the first. EU swinging out once again here in this 1v1. The recon cleared. Jing tucked back. Just trying to play out with the time. The swing coming through in EU!
I mean, that one is a bit painful to watch looking back, because there's so many moments where if just literally anyone doesn't swing and just plays safe, they win that round, right? There's so many moments, but of course they don't, and they lose that round. And then, of course, in overtime as well, when we went to round 25, they lost another 5v3.
As EU going to be rerouted, full approach coming around towards that Raptor side, but yeah, Jing able to find one. The steady on the spray, something takes out Asuna. Cryo arriving, finding value immediately. Headshot across, Jing taking down Mind Freak, playing crouch the reach, but they line up! The Colette! The knives! And the man advantage! His 100 Thieves are stealing this round away. Looking for the headshot, can't make it happen. Something with a counter spray, picks up a third, his own knives pulled. Bang alone to try to clutch this. The wall raised, the push forward, the shots connecting. He's down to 81. He reads the push forward. But Devi, now noted, just playing here against time. Up on top of the room! Bang! He gets the headshot, but does he have the time? So very close. A nail bite finisher, but he's just got it!
Yeah, so I think you're getting the idea, right? The Paper Rex, they lost some rounds that, most of the time you normally wouldn't lose. Right, but what I want to kind of take a look at here is another clip now from round number 7, because a lot of people will say with Paper Rex, well, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, right? And what you are seeing in those clips there was them dying by the sword, right? But they also get a lot of advantages from doing what they do, right? And in round number 7, we see an example of that, right? Where something in this round is going to get, very aggressive in a way, and do stuff like this. And then, he's pushing forward here and he's finding a good timing, to get into positions that the opponent doesn't expect, right? Like you'll see he'll tucks up into this corner in a second. Bang doesn't expect him to be there. He dies, right? He gets a kill off the back of that. Now this, I would say he's more fortunate maybe than, anything else. But then again, right, he finds himself in an aggressive position, finds another kill from doing it, and another kill from doing it, right? And he goes for the ace, and we get this kill here. And we end up in a 3v1. Now, what's funny about this round, though, is whilst I've just shown you a clip of them benefiting from all of their crazy aggression, they actually still lose this round in this 1v3. I know that sounds crazy. The spike actually never got planted at this point, right? And you see where, and they obviously know Asuna just got this kill obviously on something, so they know where he is. And Mindfreak's over here, right? So he can just go and secure the A site with them. He can go and put up this orb, they can cross, and they'll be fine, right? But if we take a look and see what happens, the orb goes up now. Asuna reads that they are rotating, perhaps hears them rotating as well. For some reason, they pass the spike over, and Davai, I mean, this is crazy. Right, this is crazy because the orb goes down, right? So they're all kind of holding here. All you have to do is just get past this corner and you kind of can't lose this round, right? Like all you got to do. But for some reason, Divide just sticks around just a hair later past everyone else, and he dies just there, right? So not ideal for Paper Rex. And then as we go forward in this round, they will eventually plant the spike. But as you'll see, they end up lining up again and losing this 2v1. And again, they don't necessarily play this bad, right? They spot it where he is and they double swing together. They just happen to double swing perfectly in line together, right? It is what it is. That's unfortunate, you might say. But again, that is another 3v1 loss. But you saw in that first part of the round, right, that they do get advantages by playing in that style. But I think what a lot of people might have come away from that Icebox game thinking is that that's just Paper Rex, right? As I say, they live by the sword, they die by the sword. That's just who they are. But actually, I'm not quite sure that's true, because if you take a look at Paper Rex playing at their best, they do have some discipline. And they do know when to fall back. And they do play as a team more than they were in some of those clips, right? Like, for instance, let's take a look at maybe the best game Paper Rex played, right? The upper final versus EG at last year's champs. This is maybe the peak of Paper Rex, right? And if we take a look at this round, this is overtime, right? So you can't give an excuse of like, oh, they were in a high pressure situation, so of course it fell down, because this is as high pressure as it gets, right? It's overtime, upper final, map 3 of champs. Like, it doesn't get bigger than this other than the grand final, basically, right? And take a look at what we're doing, right? First off, we start off with this kind of aggro here towards A. It's nice to see Pearl again, isn't it? It's just nice to just have it back. You know what? I kind of... Pearl, it's growing on me as we go back here, right? But, okay, we're getting aggressive towards A. We're dogging out. We're seeing that there's nothing here. Are we playing aggressive here on the weak side where there's only 2 of us? No, right? But something finds the first kill. Now, what does he do? He pushes up. And you might think, oh, this is something overheating. But is it? Because he still has his dash online, right? And he's giving them this control, and he knows that a team is unlikely to want to run into his op. He also has a turret here supporting him down long as well, right? So he knows that it's unlikely that a team is going to do that, and he's giving his team a lot of information. If they aren't there, if they are, they run into his op and he dashes away. But now that we're in a 5v3 and we're heavily in our favor, right, what does he do now, right? Because he gets smoked off, and watch, initially his first reaction is to push into the smoke and think, I'm going to get aggressive. But then instantly you realize, I'm in a 5v3, I'm just going to run away and live to fight another day, right? And if we take a look at the map now, we're in a 5v3, and this is a level of discipline. This is playing to win, right? We are together here over towards A. Jing is being very passive and just watching this, not overextending, not pushing up. He's playing passive. We got these 2 together on B as well, right? We are playing with discipline here. We are playing to win, and we get rewarded for that, right? That we get our op back into a very safe angle, again, where you can get out. The smoke timing is good for something there. He gets another kill. And it's not until this point that it's a 5v1 and, the round is pretty much over. Like, this is like, the something overheat moment, but it's in a 5v1, right? So it's not nearly as bad because we're just not going to lose a 5v1, right? And then even when we get into a 4v1, is Forsaken, taking this fight on his own? No, he's chilling. He's waiting, right? He's waiting for these guys to come back to him. So even in a 4v1, now that maybe there's the slight chance that we might lose the round, now we're playing disciplined again. Right, we're just sending you to him. We're waiting. We're swinging out as a team. We're waiting for Mindfreak to come this way. Unlosable, right? This is Paper X playing at their best. And you saw in that round, in the most high pressure situation they could be in, that they can have discipline. And so you could make the argument that in that Icebox game, that is Paper X, it's not just living by the sword and dying by the sword, it's them just not playing at their best. And really the truth of the matter is, at Masters Shanghai, Paper X, in my opinion, were playing, well, much worse than they did at, like, Champs last year, but also worse than they even did at Stage 1, in my opinion, because there was plenty of moments, like these couple clips I'm going to show you, like, take a look at this, where something is just way ahead of everyone else, and there's no trade available, as he's just dry swinging this angle.
Understanding of where the Paper X players are, it's passed over to that big brain of Boostio.
Take flight.
And they're able to do some serious damage. An early spot, but it's only Devi. You've crept something underneath all of this. He got ahead of the Owl drone, so he might be able to catch 100 Thieves off guard here. They might not be ready for this early push out.
There's Asuna. He's going to be able to find the headshot, whether he was ready or not.
Now this actually ends up being a round that they win, and Forsaken does try to trade this kill, but something is just, so far ahead, and I understand that the drone kind of separated them, but once you've got to this point, right? Once you've got to this point, Forsaken is so close to you. That second, where you could just swing together here, it's just going to make all the difference. If he's just even a tiny bit slow, take a look at him here. He's so close to being able to trade that kill, but he can't, because you just went off on your own a bit too early. Or here's another example in round 11, where something's going to go for an aggressive dash play with no support.
From just a couple rounds ago. Something trying to open things up. Swing onto the corner. Dashes back here behind Yellow, and Boostio this time able to best him. Finds that opening kill.
Now, I'm not even saying this is all Something's fault, because it could be the team's fault. I do think that this particular example is probably more on Something, just because they threw a KO knife here, but you'll see that Something's timing, so they've thrown a KO knife. You would think he would swing, either as the knife is going, or, once he realizes who's suppressed here, right? And the knife lands now by the time he's actually dead. But the thing is, like, you would suspect that a team as good as Paper X, right, that when he's dashing across here, when he has decided to do this, again, of course, he's out on his own, by the way. But, once he's decided to do this, you'd think, like, oh, he's going to wait because Forsaken has 2 flashes here, right? Obviously, he's going to wait. And actually, in this game at another time, they did this exact same play, and there was a flash there. So it's not like, they don't have that prepared. It's a very common play. You would think, like, at this point, like, just wait and flash and then kill him. Like, easy. Candy from a baby type stuff. Instead, we just swing out on our own. There's not even an attempt of a flash from Forsaken. You see he starts using the flashes here instead. And this, to me, like across their entire run of Shanghai, in the EDG game, it didn't matter too much because they were just better than EDG. But especially in the G2 game and this 100 Thieves game across like all the maps, there was a lot more of this than I think there should have been for Paper X, or I expected there to be, of just we on the same page in terms of timing of util and swinging out, with util or as a team. There was a lot of this just, kind of solo playing, no util, die. But I do think there's other problems for Paper X when we talk about them winning a tournament. Because I think another problem that Paper X have is if we look at the best of 5s that they've played, or notable best of 5s that they've played, since 2022, there are some issues that come up there as well, right? So let's take a look at them. Obviously, we'll start with the FPX versus Paper X one. This one, Paper X got the double ban, but obviously they lost 3-2 there to FPX. And if we carry on, the next notable one would be the Pacific League Grand Final against the RX. Again, they got the double map ban. They ended up losing the first 2 maps, but winning the last 3 here to close it out against the RX, but won 3-2. Then you've got the Master Tokyo Lower Final. Obviously, they were playing with CGRS in this one, and they did win 2 maps, which is pretty impressive with a sub. But, they did lose 3-2 here again. This one, obviously, each team gets 1 ban. In the next one, you got, obviously, the Champs Grand Final. In this one, they lost to EG with the double map ban, 3-1. Then you've got the Pacific Kickoff Grand Final, where each team gets 1 ban, and Gen G beat Paper X this time, 3-1. And then, obviously, most recently, you had this one against Gen G in the Stage 1 Grand Final, where, again, Paper X had the double map ban, and they won 3-2. Now, when we take a look across all of those, and, it's not a massive sample size still of games, but in general, when Paper X have a double map ban, they do win some of those games. They don't win all of them, but they do win some of them, and they tend to win 3-2, right? It's always close when Paper X win, but then whenever they don't have the double map ban, they tend to lose in those best of 5s. And that, to me, is a bit of a thing with Paper X, because I think one problem that PaperX have, particularly when they're playing teams, you know, the very top teams that are at their level, is that their map pool isn't the best. And I think there's a pretty clear indicator of maps that you historically associate with PaperX being good on, and maps that you historically associate PaperX being bad on. And let's take a look at those maps that I would say PaperX are historically good on. Well, they used to be very good at Bind, not so much anymore, but they used to be very good at Bind. They used to be good at Fracture when it was in the pool. They've been pretty good at Split throughout the years. You know, Sunset is probably their best map right now, whereas we take a look at some maps that, you know, they maybe don't pick very often, or, you know, don't favor too much, or outright ban. You know, those are maps like Haven, like Breeze, like Ascent, like Icebox, right? Those are kind of the maps that maybe they're, you know, not too keen on. And if you think about those maps for just a brief moment of what do the maps that they're good on have in common, what are the maps that they're not so good on have in common, well, the maps that they tend to be good on, Raze is meta on. And the maps that they tend to not favor too much and aren't too good at, Raze is not meta on. And I think that that is a pretty big problem for PaperX. And look, we all know that Jing is the best Raze player in the world, right? He has mastered that agent to a massive degree. And there really is only one example of a map where PaperX have been pretty good where Jing isn't on Raze, and that was on Pearl when he was playing Phoenix, right? Where they were pretty good at that map with him on Phoenix. But other than that, you know, they really haven't ever had a super strong map where Jing isn't playing Raze. And particularly when you consider that Raze is getting nerfed in patch 8.11 as well. We know that Raze is getting nerfed. Now, we don't know what the nerf is, but if that is a big nerf to Raze, what do PaperX do? So to conclude, looking forward to the future for PaperX, I think the first thing they need to get going is some of the synergy stuff and making sure that that is its best it can be. But then I also think Jing, I mean, we'll see what the Raze nerf is, but obviously, if he can play some other agent, you know, ideally a Neon, a Yoru, a Jet, you know, some other dive duelist where he can still be his aggressive self, but, you know, he can just then play those agents on those maps, and something can then, you know, fill in, you know, and play Gecko or play Breach or whatever else, right, that something's going to play. That, I think, would help significantly. And then, obviously, if they can, on top of that, add that discipline back in, then PaperX, I think, can really actually win an international event.